Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming. I think these are operations that you and the media and the public has seen before go on, and we're committed to these type of operations. With us today is Nathan Emery from the Department of Homeland Security, who was one of the organizations that partnered with us on this operation. And the reason for this news conference today and this information is to announce the results of Operation Intercept 6, a 4-day initiative focused on protecting Sarasota County children from online predators and human trafficking. Over the course of 4 days, the men you see here attempted to lure or have sex with children as young as 14 years of age. Each engaged in conversations through social media and mobile applications where chatters identified themselves as juvenile children. For the 25 men you see here, age certainly was not an issue for them. A couple of examples, 25-year-old Jared Durant used Scout app to engage in conversation with who he believed was a 14-year-old female. When he arrived at the house, he had narcotics and 2 firearms with him. 30-year-old Douglas Mosler used a popular mobile app known as Kick and violated probation in an attempt to have sex with a 14-year-old. 2 years ago, this individual was charged with traveling to solicit a child for sex and use of a computer to solicit child for sex, and he was on probation at the time when our detectives hooked him up. 26-year-old Andrew Croce is already a registered sex offender, as is 39-year-old Stephen Aldacosta, who are both shown here today. 39-year-old Travis Deal of Jacksonville is a chief petty officer in the U.S. Navy. He was set to deploy the day following this arrest that my detectives made of him. Deal used the internet to chat with who he believed was a 14-year-old. He sent illicit photos and drove all the way from Jacksonville to meet and have sex with what he thought was a 14-year-old child. At least 3 of the men you see here, and they're posted so you can see them. 3 of the men you see are foreign-born, 2 are illegal immigrants. 1 has his alien registration card but also has a criminal record. My detectives are working with ICE right now to coordinate the next steps. As you well know, I am one sheriff involved in deportation processes, so we'll be doing everything we can do to have these individuals deported from our country and our collaboration with Homeland Security and ICE. Collectively, the men you see here have 38 prior charges and 15 prior convictions. They range in age from 19 to 65 and all utilize the internet and mobile applications to contact the children to have sex. The most frightening thing for me as your sheriff is the access and exposure that children have every day to the apps and these individuals who we continue to arrest. One reports that's here is an Uber driver, another works for a food delivery service, 1 defendant works in lawn care, another is an electrician, 2 work at car dealerships, 1 works at a shopping mall. So you're seeing the cross-section of individuals who are using the internet and social media for the purposes of contacting children to have sex. One of the men you see here today has HIV, but he did not admit that he had HIV until my detectives interviewed him and was able to establish that he did have HIV. For those of you who follow this sheriff's office, this is our 6th operation. We're going to continue to do them. What's disturbing for us and this sheriff is the fact is that we arrest 25 more and we continue to run these operations. And we see social media. We went from 9 apps of a press release, press conference I had here with you in 2018. And at that time, we showed the community 9 apps on their social media platforms and phones that children have and have access to. Since that time, we now have 15 apps, and we put them up here so you can see them and put a definition beside each app. And what's disturbing is the fact is that we can continue to arrest people, and you heard me talk about one of them who was already arrested for a similar type of offense in Seminole County. He's on violation of probation. We hooked him up again, and here he's using the apps to come and have sex again. So he obviously didn't learn his lesson, nor does he care about this. He is bound and determined that he's going to have sex with a juvenile. And the way he's accessing the juveniles is through these apps. We have no control over the apps. This is very important for parents, guardians, adults who have children to know what they're looking at on their phones. We can arrest, but we can't prevent. And my hopes is of the 6 operations that it would be a form of prevention for these individuals to realize going into Sarasota County there's an opportunity to get arrested. But the best prevention for these children is the adults to know what's on the phones. So we're going to put this up here again and add more from 9 to 15 now for the parents and the community to see, with the hopes that the guardians and parents will get on the phones and be responsible and protect their children. We're committed to it. I know the sheriffs of Florida are committed to it. But it's a disease. It's something that these individuals have, something wrong where they just feel the need to have sex with a child. And the sad part is for us and the sheriffs, and for this sheriff, is I have no control over social media. I have no control over the apps. There's no regulations on it. We can't do anything about it. They keep adding to it. It makes it harder and harder for us to keep up with it. The most important persons here to protect children is the parents and guardians to inspect the phones and make sure it's on there so they don't become victimized by these type of people who are arresting. My commitment to this community is going to be we'll continue to run these operations with the hopes that they don't come into Sarasota County, but our hopes is that they don't do it anywhere 67 counties in Florida or the United States. But again, I don't see this stopping until prevention happens and parents know what's on their children's phone. So this sheriff's office is going to have this available to everybody. We're hoping for the help from the media to push this out, get this opportunity to see it. And the message is, this sheriff's office will continue to arrest people for these type of crimes and run these operations. We're not done. We're going to continue to do it. But the best prevention for your child as a parent or a guardian or an adult is to know what's on the phones and make sure that they can't make contact with these individuals, or when they get contacted, they don't accept it. So with that said, I'll take a few questions and try to answer anything you have. But I think the message today is really this. We're continuing to arrest them. Every sheriff of Florida is going to continue to do it. The most important thing is this today. The message today is know what's on your phone as a parent, as a guardian. Be responsible. Being a parent isn't easy. I'm a parent of 2 adult children, and raising them wasn't easy. But the most important thing is for the parents to inspect the phones, make sure things are not on the phones that don't belong there, and maybe sometimes just do an audit of the phone or whatever they believe is right. They're paying for it in most instances. Know what's on your child's phone. Have the courage to challenge your child to look at the phone. We're going to continue to push this out. We want everybody to see this. We put some information underneath each app of what that app stands for and the type of product that's going out through it. So with that, our hopes is that the parents will become responsible and make sure they protect their children. So with that, I'll take a couple questions or anything anybody wants to know.
Sheriff, what's in the exact brains that are making the drive out?
Man, I got to tell you, we talk about that. It's a great thing. And some people want to say it's a disease, and I don't want to say anything rude or curt, like I think you know me, but man, I don't know if their perversion is the fact is that, if they feel like that they got to have sex with a 14-year-old, my hopes would be they see a psychiatrist or psychologist and find out why they have these needs. And, Tim, this is almost like a drug addiction, is that, we're going to continue to arrest them, but it's not going to go away. The best way for this to be cured is for the parents to make sure that these apps aren't there. And the other thing, too, about it, Tim, is the fact that we have no control. There's no regulations on these things. Maybe at some point in time, the federal government or our local legislative body, if it can be done, at some point, this is going to become a catastrophe is going to happen, and probably has already happened. These individuals, as you all know, if this happens to a 14-year-old, that it's going to wreck their life. They probably end up in some things in the future. They get human traffic and stuff in the future. So at some point in time, our regulatory boards, our legislative bodies, Congress is going to have the courage to somehow regulate these type of things to protect children. So,
is there any responsibility to the people who have that run the apps?
Oh, I would think absolutely responsibility. I don't know what civil litigation is. We live in a world of civil litigation, but I got to believe at some point in time when somebody has the courage to sue them and is successful that you might see some change. But right now, as you know, we went from 9 to 15, so there's certainly no deterrence from these products being pushed out. At some point in time, I believe they're going to have to put some regulations in place to stop it, because a tragedy is going to happen. It's probably already happened somewhere, but it's wrecking children's life. And you get a 13, 14, 15-year-old, they're going to accept the contact, and the conversation starts. And if you don't have a parent that's watching the phone, worst case scenario is going to happen. So the message from this sheriff is that, we're going to do our part in law enforcement. My form of prevention for this community is to protect the kids. We'll continue to make these arrests. And my hopes is that throughout the state, these individuals who communicate or watch this, Sarasota County is probably not a good place to go. I've said that for the nearly 11 years I've been sheriff. The sad part is they're not watching because we've got 25 more in a 4-day operation. And my detectives work hard, and I think we can continue to run the operation, but they just get overwhelmed by it. But what I will tell this community is we're going to do it again, and we'll keep locking people up. That's my commitment to protect children, to arrest these individuals, and our commitment and my commitment, Sheriff, is to continue to educate the public and the parents through this and what you do out there in the media. But again, the hopes is someday some regulations come in place where these things are not allowed on the phones.
How can parents really take a look at these? Some of these apps present themselves as a calculator. Some
Yeah.
parents aren't as tech savvy as others.
Yeah, I think it's very important for parents to get educated. I'm not very tech savvy myself, but I know people who are. And to find that individual who can inspect that phone or to get educated themselves on how to inspect that phone, I believe they can probably go to any type of Verizon store or anybody in that capacity when they buy the phone to get educated on it for the child, because they're buying the phone. The child's not paying for the phone. I'm pretty certain of that. And so while they're at the time when they're purchasing the phone or whoever they have the service provider with, I'm pretty certain if they go to one of those stores that the people at the stores will be more than happy to show them how to inspect that phone to make sure they protect their child.
How big of an issue is this type of crime, not just here in Sarasota County, but across the state of Florida?
You know, that's a great question. I think it's probably happening more than we know, and I know other sheriffs do it. It's the frequency of our operations are more and more now than when I became sheriff nearly 11 years ago. This is our 6th operation alone, and I got to tell you, my hopes was that this would slow. 25 in 4 days, and I'm here to tell you now we could have taken 25 more. And so, but it gets overwhelmed, the process gets overwhelming, and so we're going to do it again. I'm going to tell everybody right now, we're going to do it again. That's my commitment to the community, to protect the children of this community. We're going to do this again. My hopes is that we don't get 25 more, but I'm very realistic. I've been doing this 32 years. We're going to get 25 more. It's going to happen. And so the biggest cure for this is the parents. And if they don't have access, if these individuals can't access a child through this, that's prevention is best. My prevention and my detectives and my deputies' prevention is doing their role, arresting these people, seizing their vehicles, seizing whatever they have there. But you see how dangerous they are. You heard a couple stories. One comes with drugs, one comes with guns. He had guns with him. One rode his bicycle all the way from North Sarasota County, a 3-wheel bicycle. He rode a bicycle all the way from the North City area, North County area, to come and engage a child, and he too had narcotics with him. And so you're seeing the type of characters these guys got, like Tim said, these guys got issues. And so they need to get some psychological help. And what drives them to want to have sex with a child, I don't know. But it's almost like a drug addiction. And the analogy I have is you can never arrest your way out of drug abuse. We as a society cannot arrest our way out of these individuals trying to have access and have sex with young children. The prevention's the parents. Keep them off the phones.
And you talked about how, this is hard in part to protect kids from human trafficking.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how this plays into the human trafficking issue?
Well, I think there's so many stories about when a child is victimized at 14, 15 years old, it just leads them down a path of destruction. And if they don't have the right help, my thoughts would be if you don't have a parent that's engaged enough in the child's life to check the phone, and this happens to the child, you probably don't have a parent that can guide them through the trauma of this happening to them at 13, 14, 15 years old. And that's many times, as you see through human trafficking, those are the type of young adults, or when they become 18, 19, they end up engaged in that type of conduct and that lifestyle. And so that's part of the prevention. So we got to have the parents engaged to keep them off of this. And if it is somebody's victimized, I got to believe that the parents who are not engaged enough to prevent it probably aren't engaged enough to navigate the system to make sure they're healthy emotionally to live life.
And just looking at that calculator app as someone in law
Yeah.
enforcement, to see that circulate, how
Yeah.
concerning is that?
That's very concerning, and that's why it's so important for a parent, a mother, a father, or guardian to get on that app and see if it's really a calculator, because you probably maybe have a 14, 15-year-old young lady or male who you believe he or she's doing her homework, and they're using it to do their homework if we're not tech savvy like we heard earlier, and I'm not, but you can become tech savvy for the prevention to protect your child. So, not understanding technology well, I don't, but I understand it well enough to protect my family and what I need to do to protect my adult children and my adult family now. If I'm a parent, I would get educated enough to know if I see that calculator, is he or she, my child, using that for homework, or is there somebody trying to contact my child, or maybe already communicate with my child on that app? And so know what's on the phone and get them off the phone and inspect that phone regularly.
What do these men say when they realize that they've been caught? What's some of the things that they say?
They squeal like pigs. They flop around. It's when we're there and they're doing it, it's in a way it seems humorous, but that's kind of a distraction tool for the deputies who work these operations. That it's really not. It's alarming, and our people are human. Our deputies, my detectives, are human. They have children, and so there's not a lot of remorse for them when they're squealing. And our guys are pretty athletic, and so when they open that door, you punch that doorbell or hit that door. When that door opens, there's a deputy standing there. There's nowhere to go. And we have a couple of them try to run, but we're pretty athletic. We run them down and bring them inside, and it's an eye-opener for them when they're laying on the mat getting handcuffed, and that's reality sets in. So, a lot of them squeal, scream, cry, beg, but you don't have to beg and squeal and whine if you don't do it. But I don't understand the human psyche of why they do it, but yeah, they squeal like pigs when the deputies grab and bring them inside the house. They want to get inside the house, come on in. And we're inviting them. Punch that doorbell, tap that door. Then you belong to the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office. You're coming in, and it's some laugh, and it's really kind of sad. And most of the people who are running these operations, my deputies, they have families, and so they have children, and they identify with it. So there's really, it's personal.
One last question.
To be surprised by some of these professions. I mean, we may expect a sex offender, but to know a naval officer, to know an Uber.
Yeah. It's scary. That's why we were talking about the cross-section of the individuals, so you never know. I think in my 32 years, you never expect, you expect the unexpected now. So you really never know. They seem like credible, good people, and like was asked earlier about what's the psyche of these people, I don't know. They do very well in life, many of them, or are very well regarded in life. They're involved in many different things, but what they're doing with their technology, what they're trying to do and not be exposed, who knows, and we see it more and more nationally now purely because of the technology. And so, there's the access is much more now than ever before. We need the parents. The parents are going to be the ones who prevent this. So we need the parents and the guardians to stay engaged. Okay, thank you. Nathan's here. We've almost talked to Nathan.
I'll just say real quick, I want to just,
In front of the,
I just want to say thank you very much to the sheriff here for inviting Homeland Security Investigations to be part of this operation. Protecting children in our community is one of our, I think, best missions that we have. I'm a father, just like you, Sheriff, and this is very important to me and important to my agency. So we are also going to continue to be partners here and to try to sort of stem this horrible crime here. You hit the nail on the head, Sheriff, and this one of the things we try to message is that engagement of parents. One of the things you can do is don't let your child have access to the code to purchase apps on their phone and on their iPads and on the computers. I just recently, my daughter tried to download an app that had a chat function on it. I went and looked at the app. I saw it had a chat function. I didn't let her do it. So keep that in mind. Don't let them have access to those codes. Have control of their devices. But we also want to say is what's great about these type of partnerships and this type of operation is these guys are coming from another location in the state. It doesn't matter what municipality these guys are coming from. These terrible human beings, if they're coming from another municipality, a county, another state, or another country. Our partnerships and us working together, we're going to hunt you down. We're going to bring you to justice. And so, Sheriff, thank you very much for letting us be a part of this, and thank you,
Can I ask
everyone.
you a question?
Oh, yes, sir.
You're the federal government.
Absolutely, yes.
They would regulate these apps. What is happening in that circumstance?
Some of these apps are very cooperative with law enforcement. Others are lacking in that cooperation. I'm not going to get into which ones are which here because I don't want to put it out on Front Street, but we do need better cooperation from these apps to stem the access that they have to our children. And a lot of them know that it's that unfettered access that they have to kids that brings more people in, because they can sort of play out their deviance and their sexual desires. And I think you probably already know from your experience which apps those are. But it's a dangerous place for our kids. And, it really needs to be controlled. And I think right now, before we even get to changing laws or adding regulations, the sheriff hit the nail on the head. We need to make sure that parents are engaged and they're looking at their child's devices and making sure they're under control.
But who would be doing the regulations?
Probably the FCC, I would imagine. Us as for Homeland Security investigations, unfortunately, we're reactive. We're looking at it from, these predators are out there, they're already preying on our community and our children, and we are going to then bring them to justice. But
That seems to be the problem here, that you're being reactive and not going after it.
well, it's a reactive proactive, but that's really all the time that we have right now, so I have to wrap up. But I'm sorry, Nathan Emery, E-M-E-R-Y, and I'm the resident agent in charge for Homeland Security investigations here in Sarasota. All right, thank you.